Welcome to the Growth and Banter podcast. My name is Blake McCullough, CEO and founder of GMS Media Group, one of Australia's leading digital advertising agencies. This podcast is for anyone looking to learn the insights and strategies from industry leaders and the highs and lows from building a successful life. Today, we're joined by my friend Christian Stevens, and he's going to be sharing his journey from becoming the #1 mortgage broker in Australia to now building his own firm, the Flint Group. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Christian.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming with your busy schedule. Now, we've known each other for well over a decade. I've had the opportunity and privilege to see your career flourish in the mortgage broking industry and now the CEO of Flint Group. So I want to start by getting just a good insight into what was the decision for you to get into mortgage broking and all the way up until now being, the founder of a new mortgage broking business called Flint Group.
I'd love to say if there was some kind of cool story as to why I got into broking, but as you know, I used to be a nightclub promoter for almost a decade and got to the end of my tether with that.
And naturally, that's how we met each other.
Yeah, that is how I actually met most of the people in my life. Yeah. That all finished. I was at a mate's birthday lunch and McClay, who you know, and I was sitting next to the CEO of the business I used to work at, and he offered me a job.
Yeah,
That's
right.
literally how it happened. I had no idea really what a mortgage broker did or what mortgage broking was, but rocked up in a suit and tie on the Monday and the rest is history.
Yeah, how funny. And I think that, because I when we first spoke, when you first got the job at Shaw and you're just getting started in the industry, you had, and I sort of, being a marketer, could see that you had an ability to look at the job from a marketing angle. And naturally, you've gone from starting into becoming #1 in Australia. But how important was, that nightclub promotion experience and other experience you had prior to working at Shaw and becoming a mortgage broker? Was it for you to inject those skills into becoming so successful?
Mortgage broking is completely saturated. There's like 18,000 mortgage brokers out there. So for me, how do you separate yourself in a market that's completely saturated? How do you stand out? How do you compete against people who are, let's be honest, better than you at the same job? So for me, it was selling through education. So just providing good bits of content on a regular basis to kind of position myself as a thought leader within an industry. Because the reality is if I went up against anyone who was more experienced than me, the traditional way, I wouldn't win.
Yeah.
Also, you have to try and get them across the line by convincing them or selling them rather than providing, useful bits of information. And they come to you so the conversion's better. So pretty early on, I realised that I needed to do things differently. And interestingly, not many brokers did any kind of real content. There's obviously a couple of great brokers now that do some exceptional content. But when I started, literally no one did anything.
Yeah.
No one was on LinkedIn. No one was providing any regular kind of EDMs or updates of any kind. So it wasn't that hard to set myself up and find a niche within the content space. Started First Home Buyers Australia on Facebook as a Facebook group.
That Facebook community group,
which has grown to 17,000 odd people and produces a couple of hundred leads a year organically. But I've got all those clients in a Google Drive in terms of their emails and everything. So it's always a source of continual business. But just touch points like that were important. And I think understanding that if I put out the same bit of content on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, you get a very different market and different reach on each. Like people that are on Facebook aren't normally on LinkedIn and vice versa. Your family might be on Facebook, but they're not on Instagram. So, you do get really good reach if you're just able to repurpose that same content across different channels, which I'm sure you're across.
Oh, yeah.
But again, all the content I put out is just the same stuff, really.
Yeah.
It's just repurposed. So like the weekly newsletter is just the 5 posts from the week put into a newsletter and just stuff like that. So it's not like I'm sitting there, producing content all day. It only takes up a very, very small part of my time, but producing that content helps with my dialogue, helps with positioning myself as a thought leader, helps with, any client or partner I go and meet, I'll add them on LinkedIn first. So that by the time you come to a meeting, they've already seen
building
my content and
trust.
understand that I know what I'm talking about. So it makes the conversion very easy. People reach out to me saying, hey, I've watched you for 3, 6, 9, 12 months before they like or comment on anything. But in their head, they've already made a decision they want to use you before me having to go in there and give them an elevator pitch about what a mortgage broker does. Like I haven't done that for years. People that are organically reaching out to me are reaching out because they've either been referred, see my content online, or their existing clients. So, the first couple of years was pretty tough, but look, now it's completely organic and all the business is inbound.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Like I always think that sales and marketing is the way to build trust with a customer before you even get to the point of having that consultation or that sales call, or even having that initial qualify call. And I think you've done that pretty well with getting that Facebook group built. And content like this, jumping on podcasts is a great way to build the trust. Is what I'm doing with my business. How long do you think it took to start really seeing the results and that traction from getting into an industry, working at Shaw, and then just having the sort of snowball effect happen? Like, how long do you feel it started to really pay dividends?
I think it's a two-part question. If I was to not have done that and just been a broker trying to establish myself, it would take, 4 or 5 years to really get proper traction. Whereas it took me like 2 or 3 maybe to get what would have taken me 2 or 3 times the period of time if I'd done things traditionally. So it just turbocharges in terms of your growth, your reach. Because at the end of the day, like if you're relying on organic word of mouth, it's great, but very slow. The reality is that I don't. I wanted to make an impact quickly. And the thing about content is it's online forever. So if you're putting up good regular content, it's just, the way the SEO works, where the retargeting works, it's pretty easy to start to build a pretty significant database of content and information. And if you think of anything, you think of your own business, or anyone running a podcast, or who's a mechanic or a PT. Like when you think of a PT, who's the first person that comes to your mind? It's because you've either been referred to them, you've experienced them yourself, or you've seen their shit online. So it's the same for any business. So it's such an easy way of, as you said, creating that instant trust. And even if you think about characters that you watch on, TV, you start to resonate with the kind of character that they are and who they are as a person. And it's the same thing for a business. If you see someone regularly putting up information, they're passionate about what they do, they know what they're doing, you naturally want to be a part of that. And it's not forced. And there's nothing worse in marketing than forcing a product down people's throat that don't want it, and understanding what a target market is, and understanding how to serve up content that is specific to that target market. Like, I don't put the same stuff on about first home buyers in the investor channels that I have, or I'm talking about SMSF, getting or commercial developments. I'm not going to put the same stuff about first home buyers with the developers. Like, you need to understand the target market. So the great thing about finance is you've got so many different markets, whether it's first home buyers, investors, foreign income expats, upsizers, downsizers, SMSF, developers, commercial. Like, there's like so many different sub markets within that, and you can be a niche and expert in any of those. And you can be an expert in multiple niches, but I think that's where a lot of brokers get unstuck, or a lot of people in business in general, is they're trying to market to everyone and not just nailing something really, really well. Once they've done that, they go on to the next thing. Because, if you're a developer, as an example, you don't want to go and get finance from someone who is a first-time buyer specialist. Or if you're a doctor, like, you obviously want to go to someone who's a medico specialist, not someone who specializes in getting finance for lawyers. So it's the same thing. And we're lucky with finance and property, that Australians are obsessed with property and everyone needs finance. I was like trying to sell something that's difficult to shift, but at the same time, as I said, it's pretty competitive. So you need to be providing information that resonates with that audience. Yeah,
and that's another good point as well. Like, having the niche in what you're trying to pitch, and not just reaching out to anyone who wants to buy property. Same with us. We're not reaching out to every business owner that just needs marketing. It requires a specific business for us to work with. So I guess having that, hitting the nail on the head there on the first home buyers, building that Facebook group to what it is now, and I've sort of seen that cultivate and grow over time. Aside from that group, and I think that's an amazing thing that you've done that not many people did, in the mortgage broking space, is actually leverage a community group, scrape that, build the value, provide information, and then obviously leverage that into turn it into leads to win business. But aside from that community group, what are some other mediums and ways that you found work best with what you're doing in mortgage broking and what you're now injecting into Flint? What sort of mediums you're working on or focusing on?
I think everything I do is to try and build an audience. And when I say building an audience, I don't mean as in get followers or anything like that. I mean get people's name, number, phone number and email in a database. That's the whole purpose of building these channels, and it's great to have heaps of Instagram followers or whatever, but like that doesn't translate into business. No. You need to actually get their details to be able to retarget, remarket them. So there are ways that you can cheat that a little bit. So with Facebook, with the group, right, I've got some it's called a group leads, but there's heaps of them, but sits behind the lead gen form or the entry form into the group. So you have to give your first name, last name, email, phone number, what state you're in, everything. That goes into a Google folder. Mm-hmm. So then I can retarget, first home buyers in New South Wales with the New South Wales grants and schemes that are applicable to them. Because again, even within first home buyers, every single state has different grants and schemes, different price points. So it's just that generalized targeting. They're always going to come back asking you specific questions around what is relevant to them. Yeah. LinkedIn was an interesting one. So LinkedIn, I posted every day for like a decade, basically, Monday to Friday. And
yourself, or did you have some other people to assist?
I did it myself originally for 5 years, 6 years, which was, look, it helped a lot with my dialogue and understanding what I was talking about, because if people are talking about the economy or what's happening with inflation or what the forecast for interest rates look like, I actually knew the answers to those because I'd be relaying information, not my personal opinion, because everyone's got their own personal opinion. But the reason why I love numbers is because they don't lie. So all I would say to them is, hey, look, this is what I read on ABS, or this is what CoreLogic's saying, or this is what the economists are mentioning is going to happen in the future. So it does help with being independent and not kind of trying to spruik something. LinkedIn, but recently I've just started a finance and property newsletter. It's got like 7,000, I think, people follow that. So each week on a Tuesday morning, I send that out. So you get a notification on LinkedIn that it comes out to you. You get an email from me. It's just touch points, right? So then I also that is actually that weekly newsletter is just the 5 posts from Monday to Friday put into a newsletter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I just chuck it through ChatGPT and put it through. It's fine. Yeah. But again, like that takes 5 minutes. Yeah. It's super easy. Yeah. And then for Instagram, I've done the same things. I've got finance and property broadcast channel. Mm-hmm. So the broadcast channel, again, every morning at 8 or 9 in the morning, I send that Monday to Friday. So every single person in that's like 1,300 people, I think, get a notification. And it's the same thing. So it's just different touch points. And I find that different people react or see the different posts, because some people spend all their time on Instagram, some spend it on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, but again, it's just the same shit. Like I'm not going and spending hours and hours and hours putting together really complex content. It's just repurposing the same stuff. If I'm being honest, I'm probably at a point now where I need to kind of switch it up a little bit and start doing some video content, some podcasts, because as you know how the algorithms work, is it's shifting towards that brand building authenticity side. So what was relevant and cool 5 years ago and got you heaps of traction and whatnot isn't really the same now. People actually want to see a face, and you can build again a reputation and profile so much faster via video than you could again. So I feel like the video is the new regular posting that was 5 years ago. So you're already seeing heaps of people within different industries capitalizing on that and producing really good educational content, little snippets of information, and it just organically starts to grow pretty quick, because you can share something, a video, and you can say a lot in a 1 minute video that a post probably can't say. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think, I've been at sort of fault at this as well, going out and doing it yourself first before you delegate it. And that's obviously what you've done. You've provided really thought-provoking content, you've done it yourself, then you found a way to automate it. And you're right in saying, like what has worked 5 years ago and what worked for you when you initially were building up your career might not necessarily work today. And I also think with, tools like AI, with ChatGPT, people sometimes, if they read an article or a post, they probably don't really know if that's written by you or if it's written by a system. So that's where a video becomes more authentic and people can't really copy yourself on a camera. So we find the same. We found that images on conversion-based ads to get leads worked a lot better, whereas now videos are working a lot better and images are hardly even getting the traction. So I think that paradigm shift of, okay, we now know that automation systems like ChatGPT are taking over written content. How do we go back to being humanized and having a medium where people will actually trust that is coming from you? Do you think it's going to be humanized? Like, or do you think it's just
could
going
be
to
taken over as well?
continually to? Because, like, if I think of video content, right, like from now to 6 months ago, like it is wild what you can do. Like, you can put in a script and get an AI salesperson that looks like a legit human being.
That's another thing as
build
well.
training courses or build content and have them a different kind of persona, or have them like we're doing some pretty cool stuff at the moment with outbound AI calling. We get 1,000 leads.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of
and
people
they
talk
can
about that.
call as an Australian, as a female, as someone who is personable, and book in calls, but you do not know that is not a human. And they're not giving any advice or anything. They're not having any critical conversations. All they're doing is booking in a call to have a conversation with a salesperson. We haven't properly rolled it out, but it's just very, very interesting. And also, AI chatbots as well off the back of OFIs. Like, you get 500 people go through and open for inspection on the weekend, and then they get a text from Blake from LJ Hooker saying, "Hey, thanks for coming through on the weekend. How'd you?" It's crazy what you can do, and like it is blurring the line a little bit because you don't know.
No.
And a lot of businesses use marketing automation, lead nurturing anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just that next step.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I embrace it. I think it's amazing, and I think obviously there's some moral and ethical stuff there. It's a bit grey, but I think if you use it in a way that is a value add, and not in a way to try and do something dodgy or to deceive people, I think in marketing and sales and content and content writing and stuff, it's definitely going to be mind blowing what was going to be happening over the next 12 months.
I know, it's scary.
Because it's moving so quickly.
Yeah, and I've seen ads where they are AI systems where it's like, "Hi, I'm AI," and it's a.
But if they didn't say that.
But it's like them promoting the tool, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if I actually went and did it, I think like, the endorsement and the everyday content stuff can definitely get taken over. Like a UGC, for instance. How do you know if that's someone promoting the brand or if that is AI?
Yeah.
I think that's going to get blurred a lot. But, I think the way that we're conversing right now, we're not quite there yet.
No.
I think to really automate it to go, cool, we don't know whether that's actually Blake on a podcast or AI pretending to be Blake and Christian. So like, there's certainly going to be scary things happening. And I think we're just going to have to keep moving down the path of like finding what is that next thing to be authentic and break through that clutter. Maybe that's just going back to having conversations in reality and not actually doing things online.
I'll give you an example. Like I did, like 3 years ago, I paid some guy like $4,000 to put together like a 30-part ebook on first home buyers.
Yeah.
Took him 2 months. It was, so many edits. Anyway, I went on ChatGPT like a couple of months ago and said, "Hey, write me a 30-part ebook on." It was so good.
Yeah, ebooks are nuts.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot believe the level of detail, how it was structured.
Yeah.
That stuff's really interesting from a content play. Obviously, you need to then run it through a humanizer or actually edit it. But it does, what it does, I feel, is pull out stuff that you have in your head that you just don't, a lot of people don't know how to get down on paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is pretty crazy what you can do.
Ebooks particularly, like I got an ebook written by one of our copywriters, Alexi, and his team basically just transcribed a presentation I did, which was around, marketing, Facebook tactics, whatever. And then he wanted me to audio record stuff to create the ebook, but I just sort of said, look, I've got this piece of content that's been filmed, so I might as well just transcribe that. And then his team turned it into an ebook, which is like a printed book and everything. And this was 5 years ago. So yeah, I can't even imagine how easy it would be to create an ebook or even just a lead marketing book now as it was 5 years ago.
But what you can also do is then take that ebook and run it through an AI sales video platform and have
start getting
Blake
videos done,
having snippets of an audio version of the ebook you can listen to in the same voice as Blake.
It's scary. It's fucking nuts.
One of you's enough.
Tell me about it. So I guess on that topic, what tools are you actively using right now? Aside from obviously platforms like LinkedIn and the Facebook groups and Meta to generate your leads, like what are some cool tools that you're using that you want to share with some others?
We just rolled out HubSpot.
Cool. Yeah, we're in the process of doing the same thing actually.
Like 6 months building out.
Yeah, we're about 3 months in.
Yeah, it's very impressive now it's up and running. But we're dealing with thousands of clients at any one time and hundreds of referring partners, and some of them proceed immediately, some of them proceed in 12 months. So having the lead nurturing is quite important because people proceed when they're ready. And often then they've got to, if they're a first-home buyer, they go on the first-home buyer lead nurturing sequence. So the more granular you get on the data and the content, the better it is. But it is, how deep does the rabbit hole go? Like it's pretty incredible though, what that's allowed us to do in terms of that marketing automation, lead nurturing, because otherwise before we had a CRM, but it's not the same. It's, we've got a CRM as well, but it's not they do really kind of have two purposes, because for us, especially with some of our bigger partners, they've got tens of thousands, if not millions of customers. Once they proceed, they're in CRM. But that before that happens, there's an enormous amount of contact, whether manual or automated, that goes on before that happens. And to go and do that at scale is almost impossible, because you're always going to forget something. But that's been really, really good. We've got a podcast studio and green room in our new office, so we're going to be producing a lot of really educational content around those niches. So we've got someone that specialises in just first-home buyer, someone over 55 clients, someone for sports and media professionals, accountants. So the content is going to be really specific to that in terms of the sales outreach that we do with those B2B partners. I guess I don't use as many platforms anymore, because I've now built enough of a foundation that the organic growth kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah, nice.
But if I'm thinking back as to what I used to use, I used a platform called Meet Alfred originally, which is like a LinkedIn automation software, which really helped with the outbound B2B leads. I used to use Reply.io, which is a marketing automation software, which is really, really good. It's like a text-only platform that segments your leads in a way that you'll send 1,000 emails and it'll show you who's warm, who's cold, follow up the cold leads, follow up the leads that have opened an email 5 times. Like, it really helps with that mass outreach. And then once they reply, you obviously take over. But, if we're thinking about scaling, the conversations I'm having from year 1 to 3 as a broker to 3 to 7 to 7 now, it's just different. Like you can't run a business with hundreds of referring partners and thousands of clients without having these things set up, because it's just a shit show otherwise. And then partners get upset because you haven't got back to the client, and clients get upset because you're not getting back to them. So process is very, very important, especially to business of the size that we are now, because otherwise, the wheels just fall off.
No, that's a good point. And it's something that I've experienced even just from a small team of 15, 20 at any one time that we had. And then we sort of did the scale attempt in 2022, broke a lot of things. Overheads crept up and couldn't quite get to where we wanted to go, because we found that not having that system created way too much manual reliance on checking in with people to make sure things were done. Agencies, just like mortgage broker or any service professional industry, requires a lot of people power. And we're, like I said, going through the same process of transitioning everything over to HubSpot to have a single source of truth, because right now, even 8 years, which is crazy, like we've been a bit slow to, I think, really make the decision and pull the trigger on getting a holistic system. But we're, better late than ever, realizing that without that single source of truth, we're not going to have the scalability of getting, double the team or double the clientele, or even getting bigger clientele on. It just simply won't happen. So I think HubSpot, for you guys, is going to be that single source of truth. And, it just wouldn't happen, right? Otherwise, because you have to
be ready to onboard. Like, it's a pretty big investment.
Yeah, it is a big investment. It is.
And also, like, being in marketing, not online marketing, but you for yourself, there's so many options.
Oh, there is.
So, like, what do you choose? And everyone's probably got an opinion on the pros and cons of each. And, people can get in your ear a bit. But, it's definitely been a game changer for us in terms of also the marketing with all the hundreds of different email databases and different clients, and it's been really, really good.
Yeah, I always say that people sometimes look at the talent to grow a business, but it's really the systems that grow the business, and the talent then drive that system to continue to scale. And I think having that way around, not relying on talent to be the sort of silver bullet solution.
Well, with the new business, like, the whole pitch is that we have all the systems and processes in place to give you 80% of your day back.
Yeah.
So you can be the most talented broker in the world, but if you don't have that stuff sorted, it's like a nightmare.
Yeah, that's right.
So, if I give you back 4 times the amount of time a day to generate business, and that the back end is taking care of itself, then you can't really not succeed.
Yeah, and how much easier and better would it be for someone to be working for you versus another business who doesn't have those systems in place?
I think that's the future. I think if you want to go and I think the old traditional way of going into, just use a real estate office, for example, and sitting in the office once a week and asking them to send you referrals, it's great, but it's very old school. The reality is that an agent, like anyone, is busy and they don't want to spend their time referring to you when they could be making more money doing other tasks that they're good at anyway. So our systems and processes are designed to be fully automated. So if they refer to you manually, that's the icing on the cake, not the main focus of generating the business.
Yeah, nice one. Now, I've seen some insights into Flint Group's office, decking it out. Saw a lot of computer boxes getting unloaded the other week.
Yep.
How fun / stressful has that been over the past 6 months to get that set up? It looks like it's about ready to go.
Look, I was saying something the other day. I've never been busier, but done less broking. Just so many little things that probably naively I wasn't aware of with running a business. And even at my previous employer, like I was self-employed, I had my own team, but I didn't really run a proper business. I had my own little business, but having your own proper business in terms of insurances and how that's set up from, we've got our own ACL now, like it's compliance wise and dealing with 55 people, different personalities, different cultures. We've got a team in the Philippines, team in Nepal, team in Serbia. Like it's difficult. Like people are difficult. And even stuff like fitting out an office and finding an office, like it's a nightmare, and finding the time to find an office. And these things, we've only been in business for 6 or 7 months, I think now, but I feel like we've done 2 years worth of work in that 6 months. And if I look forward to the next 6 months, I'm more excited because those foundational, blocks are there now, and I'm not spending time, trying to do stuff that probably isn't very dollar productive. And it's exciting. So we've got 62 seats and about half the office is full. We've got a couple of our partners that we work with really closely in there as well. So as we grow, there's definitely room for more. But I wanted to have a hub that was, the reality is, you can work at home, you can be hybrid. But I think if you're in any sales environment, if you're around really high achieving other individuals, you get better. Yeah. And I just think it's one of those roles like real estate buyers agents and any other high ticket sales environment, the people you're around and how quickly you grow and you learn, it's like 10x if you're in that office and you're absorbing that information as opposed to sitting at home on your own. Yeah. And we moved in last week. It's been really good.
Yeah, nice fun. What do you think's been like the biggest insight or lesson from the transition, like you said, from somewhat having your own brand but not so much at Shaw to now, fully fledged CEO and having your own business to look after whilst mortgage broking as well?
I think the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
You get I am still, and have been the victim of getting a little bit too excited about having too many balls in the air.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if you're doing everything 10%, you're not doing anything 100%. So for us, getting those basics right, getting, and chipping away at, 2 or 3 things max at a time. You can't possibly do 30 things at once. It's just impossible. And then also run a business and bring in clients and, not, have a good relationship at home and all this other stuff as well. So that's probably been the biggest learning. If I could do this last 6 months again, there's definitely would be things that I would do differently. But look, nothing too drastic, but it's just, there's only so much time in a day. Yeah. And, if you could spend that time doing stuff that is going to help significantly with future business and help the brokers with time. And, it's been, I've learned more in the last 6 months than I have in the last 6 years. I reckon it's been a bit of but look, it's all enjoyable. It's been challenging and fun, but it's been it's been a lot.
Yeah, running a business, I don't care how big or small it is, after a few years, you learn a tremendous amount and you come in so naive, Yeah. I think having that entrepreneurial mindset, which is obviously what you've had, to then, build and eventually have your own brand, you sort of look at other businesses and you're like, oh, you should be running it that way and that way until you actually get into the weeds of it. Like you said, there's only so much time that one person can do, and I think a big part of that, having a big team is what it seems like you've sort of leapfrogged a few different stages in what someone naturally goes through in creating a business, which has been great.
Someone's might be seen as arrogance, but I think it's earned confidence. I genuinely know what I'm capable of and what the business is capable of, and I back the sales pitch when I'm sitting in front of someone talking to them as a broker, or if someone wants to join. I'm not saying things that aren't true. I genuinely believe the things that I say, and I know that we'll get there. So, we had 140 odd people reach out to us about joining when we launched, and we only hired 4. So it's not because we only want to hire, the best or anything like that. It's just that, it's important culturally to have people that resonate and have the same values and want to work the same way. And, hiring someone for the business is as important to the rest of the team as it is to me. I don't want to hire someone who's, a big lone rider, but they're a dick. And they don't work well with the team, and then it creates all these issues. And then it is really important that you make sure that's there. And that, and we've had our own issues with merging, Chris's team, my team with 20 odd people. We hired 15 extras, merging, 2 teams, established teams. And, there were certain people with the same roles, and trying to manage different cultures with offshore teams, and, how, some are more process driven and some are more proactive with the way that they approach their tasks. It's just, it's just different. And I think trying to understanding that you can't have the same, process or the same mindset with everyone in your team. Like, what motivates some people definitely doesn't motivate others, and some 100%. People are motivated by doing deals, and some people are motivated by being in a workspace that makes them feel safe. So I think that's been a big eye opener, because definitely what motivates me is not what motivates certain people in the office. And even with Chris and I, like, he is, in my opinion, the best broker in the country. He's unbelievable, which is why we went into business together. But he's a very different person than I am. He's very, not that I'm not a family person, but he's all about his kids. He's unavailable from 5 p.m. He's, it's everything that you aspire to be once you're a family man. But I'm a pit bull. Like, I can't let go of things. I need to be, doing deals all the time, and I love the energy and the chase. Whereas his, it's just different. But I think if you're going to business with someone, you want to have 2 different people adding to something. Otherwise, you want to go to business.
Well, you've got to be complimentary, right?
Like, it's not. Otherwise, God, looking in the mirror all day, every day, it's just not
You'll clash.
Definitely, it's not what you want to do. And so it reminds me of back in the day with nightclubs. If you're going to open a club, you want to have someone who's a bartender, someone who's does the floor. Otherwise,
someone does the cocktails.
So because you don't have a chef, then how are you going to know about food? So it's the same thing. You want to make sure that you're bringing values and you complement each other as a business. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, I can fully appreciate, and that's why I think I love seeing your journey, because I'm going through a similar process of finding a new office, partnering with 2 other agencies to build a bigger agency to get that scale that we're looking for, because we service SMEs, and I've mentioned this a few times on recent podcasts, but our kryptonite that we've had in 8 years of business is, hitting that sort of fatigue of, there's only so many brands we can take on an SME, and there's only so much we can grow with those brands, because, the retainers are smaller versus getting, one big client on that's going to be less work that produces way more margin. So we've realized that, and that's sort of the process we're undertaking right now is partnering with 2 other agencies in complementary services, one creative, one web, where ads, and then the office, we went through the process this year of trying to find one. That's been the most stressful thing. It's been the most stressful thing.
I saw 150 spaces, and it's just never ending.
Seriously. And we were so close to pulling the trigger on it. And then then all of a sudden my landlord then gave me the ultimatum of you're either signing for another year or, in a month you're out. And so I had to sign up for another year, and now it's going to be postponed till next year. So it's just like having that synergy between different teams, and, the next step for us is then getting, the cultural built and being in the same office together. So it seems like you're sort of already underway, and that's sort of something I wanted to sort of ask you as well is, alone from the hiring and all the applications you're getting, a big part of how we hire is culture, like you said. I totally believe if someone's good at the job but they're a dickhead, or you're not meshing with them, they create toxicity in the environment, just like a bad client would. So what's your cultural sort of, I guess, I don't know, what are you doing from a cultural point of view in Flint, and how are you going to maintain that with 60 people?
Chris is definitely better than this than me.
Okay.
And it's been great to, I'm a very numbers driven person. So if someone comes in, they go, I'm selling 100 mil, blah, blah. I can see over other issues with them because, but for him, it's more around, are you the right fit? And I think that's been such a positive change for me as a leader and a business owner, is having someone who can stop you and say, hey, look, outside of that, what other qualities do they have? And if you can't answer that question, it's probably not going to be like if you're going to be genuinely upset if someone leaves the business outside of the money you're going to lose, like it's probably not a reason to keep someone. And I think it's interesting because we've got 55 people, I think now we want to scale it to 100 next 12 months or so. To do that at scale and that many people, it's interesting because there's certain people that are really clicky in the office. There's certain people that get along great. There's certain people that, are more isolated or introverted, but it doesn't mean that they're any more better or worse as an employee. They all have different kind of skill sets. So it is interesting. It's a bit like, when you're back at school and everyone's on their own little groups and hanging out, and it's the same kind of thing, it's just people add different skill sets. And I have noticed that some of the people that I would say are more introverted have come out of their shell once they're in the office around other people. So I guess that comes down with feeling comfortable in your work environment as well. But culture is important, but it's one of those things that's constantly changing because as your business grows, your culture changes. So what was again important 5 years ago, being a smaller, I only had my first employee, for about 5 years ago now, but now I've got 55. So it's different because the first one, it was just about survival and about taking some of the workload off me. And now it's more around, how does that work as a group? Because if I go and hire another girl in the Philippines and there's already 10 of them there and that girl, or guy doesn't get along with the rest of the team, the amount of issues and drama that causes and the amount of money that costs the business, regardless of how good they are, it's the same thing for anyone in any team. So, we've got 5 or 6 different teams, whether it's credit or strategy or loan processing or marketing and whatnot, and just making sure that not only do they work well in the team that they're in, but they work well in the bigger groups. So, mate, it's one of those things that's it's ongoing, it's changing. Yeah. It's not something that I can really nail on their head, but it is important. And I think also for the growth of a broker and the team to be in an environment where people are sharing ideas, are inclusive, and not cutting each other's lunch, which is why we created the business the way that we did. We want to have different brokers that are experts within those different niches and not have 50 brokers in the same industry in the same office, because naturally it just becomes a bit of dog eat dog. And I just want to make sure that we're creating, when you think of a Medico broker or an O55s broker or a development broker or construction or SMSF, whatever it might be, that someone at Flint comes to mind because you've seen their content and they're just really nailed that niche. It doesn't mean you don't do anything else. It just means the way that you position yourself from a marketing perspective is around that.
Absolutely. We've found that some of the best talent that we've had, and we've approached it in 2 different ways. And yes, where a lot of the roles that we have are probably more junior to mid-level. We're not an agency that can hire lots of GMs or group directors or any of that sort of stuff. It's myself and my business partner, Simon. And then the rest of it is, one group account director in New Zealand that's been with us for 7 years. And then the rest of it's made up with more sort of account managers that are sort of that sort of, junior to mid-level entry. When we've brought on people that have too much experience, they don't often last too long because they just think that, they don't want to do the job. They want to delegate. And I think that probably serves a bit more of a bigger environment, not necessarily a small business. But yeah, we found that some of the talent that we've had the best is that we've brought them in and we found that they've got good culture, really good intelligence. We've just sort of done a bit of a psych test. And once we've had the sort of time to train them up, they're way more respectful and they actually commit to their role a lot better. So I guess aside from some of your senior leaders, do you have that training process to get people from the ground up?
Yeah, it's probably not a business at the moment because the way that the business is structured is that the brokers give out, a portion of their commissions in exchange for having a turnkey solution for the whole back end, which has taken me 10 years to build. So it really only makes sense to a broker if they're settling more than $40 million a year because they could probably go and do it with something cheaper because they wouldn't need any support. Whereas I really want the kind of brokers or business owners that want to scale but don't want to go spend the next 5 years building their team and training their team. And they can basically go from year 1 to year 5 in their own business without having to go through all that shit that we had to go through. To have 35 support staff and have all those processes and trainings in place, and it takes a lot of time and a significant amount of money and unfortunately a lot of trial and error to get that to where it needs to be. And it's a constant battle.
Yeah.
It's a positive one, but it's constantly, you got to constantly be on everything all the time. And I think that's where the value add. Like I love mentoring and training up junior brokers, but again, I think you have to be firm with the type of you need to be a value add to the brokers you're bringing on. And I just think if I brought on anyone that was a new to industry broker, I'd probably doing them a bit of a disservice because I wouldn't be able to give them the time that they needed. You need to have a basic understanding of how to generate business and how the industry works for me to add value at that point. Because I just feel like, that being said, we've got some great trainers that we work with that come in and upskill in whatever departments we need. But again, I just think we need to find. We're about to roll out a broker offer as well, so we're just trying to find that 50 mil plus broker who's been in the industry a couple of years. He wants to scale to 100 or 150 plus, but just doesn't have the means or doesn't want to spend years training and doing stuff. They just want to focus on generating business and managing relationships.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's get into the crux of, I guess, the big topic right now with interest rates. What's going on?
Look, I think if you asked me this a year ago to now, it's a very different question. But most of next year we'll see rate cuts.
Okay.
And what happens every time the RBA reduces or increases the cash rate by 25 basis points, it reduces or increases your borrowing capacity by 2.5%. So if you decrease the cash rate by 1%, it increases your borrowing capacity by 10%. If everyone's running around with 10% more money, prices go up. It's the same with what happened with COVID. Interest rates came down 2%. Everyone running around with 20% more money. And there's always an undersupply issue in Sydney, just due to the population, how many people are looking for property at any one time. So I think the next 2 years with the forecasted interest rate cuts and the increase in the borrowing capacity and where the market's heading from a cycle perspective, the next couple of years is going to be pretty good returns for anyone that owns a property. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, well, I've got mine to look forward to over the next few months or whenever it's due. It's about a year and a half delay, so we'll see. We'll see if that even settles soon. But aside from, I guess, interest rates and all the topic around, the inflation and post-COVID and all its ripple effect going on, what do you feel has been the biggest shift in mortgage broking since when you've started?
Biggest shift in mortgage broking is in clientele or is in our industry?
Probably in the industry from a customer point of view.
From the customer point of view or from
someone wanting to get a mortgage?
How educated they are.
Yeah, right.
Someone came to me 10 years ago. They're like, what does a mortgage broker do? And, I want to get a home. Like, they now know what an offset account is. They now know what principal interest, first interest only is. They now
sophistication in the market.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit to do with influencers and a bit to do with content being put out there. And, there's not a shortage of people pumping out information on interest rates and borrowing capacity and buying property and where you should be buying and renovating. And, that's better, I feel, because the conversations I'm having are really, detailed around strategy and much more around, how do we get from A to B with the path of least resistance rather than, what kind of interest rate can I get? I think interest rate's a byproduct of finding a lender that suits your needs and objectives and not like the main focus for most people, especially the clients that we work with. It's more around, leverage and building wealth through property as quick as possible so you can retire as early as possible with income producing assets.
Yeah, nice. And with Flint, I know you mentioned that you've got a few different niches carrying on from where you built your first homeowners sort of group there, and I'm assuming you're still letting that go and still running that. But what do you feel the point of difference with Flint Group's going to be in the market?
I think it's that trusted partner. I think for the complex clients that borrowing more than 1.5 million, it's more around how do you upsize? How do you add value through renovation? Can I keep my existing investment properties? How do you leverage assessment rates to be able to borrow more? I just think the level of conversation and expertise, like all of our senior strategy team are all CPAs as well. So the level of expertise you get within the business is not something you would normally see. Yeah. And I think clients, you probably see this, a lot of people are self-employed these days. They're starting businesses, they've got little side hustles. The average client that's just PAYG, with a big deposit is few and far between. Yeah. There's always some weird, quirky thing about all these deals these clients that we deal with. And I think also the fact that the business is structured the way it is allows the broker then to have all that time back to nurture those relationships. Because a lot of the time, first home buyer group as an example, a lot of the clients will reach out on the group saying, hey, I've tried to get in contact with my broker, I can't get a hold of them. Or haven't heard back from my broker in 2 weeks. And that's just mind blowing to me.
No communication.
How do you have a client but have no time to talk to them? Which again kind of solidifies the fact that the business is structured correctly, that enables you to keep those relationships, whether it's a client or the partner. If they call you, you have to be able to answer the phone. You have to be available, and especially when people are emotionally charged, it's the biggest financial decision in their life. If you're unavailable, it's going to stress them out and create. That experience is going to be a poor one.
Yeah, communication's key with anything, right? And I think if you're, and same with us. Like the most common thread I get with someone having a poor experience with an agency is, aside from results, is lack of communication. Like
positive word of mouth is the best marketing you can ever have.
Yeah.
So and it takes, like, you can have a great experience and then at the 11th. Like the last hurdle, drop the ball, and the whole thing shit.
Yeah.
And they'll tell all their friends and family about how shit it was, but they won't tell you about the 95% that was amazing. So I think it's really important to just not get them across the line, lodge a deal, and then that's done. Yeah. It's actually as important, if not more important, from exchange to settlement, that experience, because that's actually when you've bought something. Before that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just pre-approved.
Yeah.
But once you actually bought something and you're settling, you want to make sure that that process is stressful.
Yeah.
Make sure every your ducks in a line and settlement's gonna happen.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're only as good as your last week, and I think you got to. It's not a done deal until the money's in the bank. But on processes, and given that you've sort of prided yourself personally on building a system and process, Flint Group now going through the process of building that HubSpot single source of truth. What sort of like a unique sales process look like for you that you're sort of ingraining as a full team? Like what does your typical sales process look like?
I'll just take that back a bit. So when I started as a broker, I was one-man band. I was doing everything from finding the client to lodging the deal to researching to calling the banks and settlement and just everything, right? So it's very hard to kind of get any momentum because your whole day is spent doing shit that's not dollar productive.
Yeah.
And then stage 2 was to outsource my loan processing, which gave me, again, back 20% of my time. So that enabled me then from lodgement onward someone to be I was still across everything, but managing that for me. And then stage 3 was outsourcing the credit up front. So once you come to me as a client, I've got a team of guys and girls that'll go away and research all the lenders, email the banks, do the pricing, put the product comparisons together, the repayment tables. That is a very time-consuming thing, especially at scale. So they'll go and do all that. And then again, I'm just presenting it. So all these little things that I've added on over the years have given me back 20%, giving me back 20%, giving me back 20%. So my day is busy, but it's spent nurturing relationships or talking to clients rather than doing all the stuff that can be outsourced. And I think from a process perspective, it's the same thing for our brokers, is that they can bolt on and then get, know that any of their clients are looked after at any point throughout the process, whether that's post-settlement or up front. And obviously the HubSpot helps with the marketing automation and the lead nurturing. But the real stuff is once they're on board, like once the proposals have been sent out, the follow-up, the relations we have with the bank, knowing we can get things escalated, preferential treatment, faster turnaround times, pricing, everything that comes with a big business to scale. But that process is so important because, again, if you've got to exchange quickly with a cooling off period, or you've got a short settlement, or you're stressed, which 95% of customers are when they're buying the biggest asset their entire life.
Absolutely.
You want to make sure that the process is smooth. There's nothing worse than going, it's just clunky, it's 3 days out from settlement, you're not approved yet. It's not a good experience. So I think where a lot of businesses come undone and where banks come undone, because I've seen banks turnaround times blow out all the time, with being able to scale without compromising on the customer experience, and being able to take on a larger percentage of leads without just turnaround times blowing out. So we have to try and get proposals back within 48 hours, regardless of how complex they are. Loan docs out within 24 hours, and if that's not happening, and we get regular updates, if that's not happening, then we either need to improve our processes or hire more staff. Yeah. So it's one or the other. So I think with regular communication within all the teams and the team leaders, you can be pretty across a large business, because you need to also be able to be happy letting go a bit of responsibilities, which can make anyone anxious. But I think if you've got good staff in those managerial roles, like I'm only really dealing closely with 5 or 6 people within the business, and then they're dealing with 5 or 6 people of their own. So, I'd love to be able to sit down and get granular with every single person in the business, but I'm sure firstly they probably wouldn't want that, and secondly, it just enables the team leaders to focus on what they're good at, and I can focus on things that are dollar productive and actually adding value to the business and not wasting my time doing stuff that isn't.
Yeah, and they do say, and I've heard this a lot, that from a leader point of view, once you start going over managing more than 10 people, it becomes counterproductive. It's just not possible to really do it properly.
Talk to 10 people regularly, like it's a full-time job.
Yeah. Like, again, like even myself, Simon and myself, we've got 10 people, 15 as a core team. That's plenty. Like we've had 12 to 15 one time, and it's actually too much. Like I've experienced that on a small level, and I've even remember listening to Fred's co-founder of Finder, Fred. He sort of said with his team, which has got hundreds in it, that he only really deals with 5, which is interesting you say that. So he's the same. So he just doesn't want to deal with the wider group because it actually distracts him from the goal of building and growing the business. So
and why you hire people as well. Like if you hire someone who's unbelievable, loan processing example, then like getting involved in their shit, like let them do their job. Like you hire them for a reason, and if you can't trust them to do the job, then you probably hired the wrong person.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think that's been hard for me a little bit, letting go with certain tasks, but at the same time, what I've let go, I've got back other things I didn't have previously. So it is great knowing that if you got a busy day or you take a couple of days off for personal reasons, that the business isn't going to come crumbling down.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is amazing. I went to
we're all human.
Went to Europe 2 years ago, I remember, and I didn't have the right processes in place. It was absolute disaster. I was on the phone at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. to the banks, and it was horrible. It ruined basically the whole holiday. So
and ruined your night.
Then Nicolino just hated it. So last year though, I went for 5 weeks and diverted my phone, and I got back and my business had hummed along.
Good.
Like
that's perfect.
Definitely, no one missed me. Like it was just perfect. I just remember thinking, God, that's good.
How good.
Like that's just, you've nailed enough of the process, and you've hired the right people that enable you to go and actually take some time off, which is the whole purpose of building a business and working so hard, is so you can actually enjoy life and have a bit of a reset and some time with my wife, and come back and then be recharged and ready to go again.
And I think like we're all human, and I think particularly when we are running our own business, things get hectic. And I think you do need time off, whether that is, switching off to just rebuild those, creative juices, or whether it is taking time off to go away and just enjoy life a little bit. But I think people in teams sort of think that you have to be there all the time. But like I said, that goes back to the system. So you can actually
having
enjoy
time
and
off is very important.
Absolutely.
I used to think if I just nutted through 7 days a week and did 100-hour weeks and was an animal, that was somehow going to translate into getting to there faster. But what I realized is I was running at 60% the whole time. So if I go and have a couple of weeks off here and there, I'm actually running at 80.
And there's this weird expectation, I feel, particularly in Australia. Maybe it's Sydney based because we're so fast paced here that you have to always be on, and it's like, work 24/7, be up at 4 a.m. It's just this weird concept that I think is instilled at us. But like I said, we're human, and I think everyone, has their own way of sort of approaching life. And I think whatever works for you, then that's what you should sort of look at it versus comparing yourself to someone else. Now, on that, what advice would you give someone, whether it's in mortgage broking or looking to build their own brand? But what advice would you give someone sort of aspiring? And I'm sure you've got a lot of people reaching out to you and looking to get advice from yourself in your journey. But what's some of the pieces of advice you'd give to sort of young brokers out there, or people maybe looking to get in the industry or build a brand?
Look, I'll probably get one person a day, I reckon.
Yeah, really.
Junior reach out. And I've always got time for anyone, because I definitely didn't have... There weren't a lot of people that could help me with the questions that I had, because the way that I was going about getting business and doing things was quite different. What advice would I give? Outsource your loan processing as quick as possible. I think the good brokers are salespeople.
Yeah.
From a content perspective,
learn sales.
Yeah, just from a content perspective, just start. I think people get so bogged down in wanting the video content to be perfect, wanting the photo shoot to look unbelievable. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Just start putting out content. If you look back in 12 months, you'll be super embarrassed by how bad the videos are. But you only grow by failing. That's actually how you grow the fastest. And you'll realize by doing your own videos and posting in your own content, you'll understand what times of the day work best, or what kind of content resonates with people, and what your style is. And you can get any expert can tell you their experience, but half the time these experts actually haven't built anything of their own. And secondly, their authenticity is not your authenticity. So you might be a super geeky person, or having casual content doesn't work for you. You need to make sure that you actually build your own profile by the content that you put out there.
Yeah.
And, as the more you put out there, the more you're going to start building that and learning. I think it's the same with anything. If you want to do anything well, it's the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And it's pretty basic.
So fucking true.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, like, I'm still like semi, I think I'm balanced between introvert and extrovert, but super shy, couldn't do any public speaking, and had to sort of just go head first into it when I started getting asked to do some keynotes. And you don't say no to that when you've got opportunities, when you're going out and doing it on your own. And yeah, looking back at some of the content I filmed, it was like you're literally reading off a teleprompter, and it's just so robotic. And it's probably AI could do a much better job.
One of those things though, you think people care, and
they don't.
Tell me the 5 about what the 5 last topics you went to talk at a conference. Like no one can even tell you. Like it goes in one ear and out the other. Things that resonate with you, you keep on board. But like 90% of a speech you don't remember or you don't even care about. So people get so caught up, and myself as well. Like I'm a shocking public speaker, and it's one of those things that I definitely would avoid at any cost if I have the chance. But I like sitting down and rereading. Content before I put it out, because that's the kind of person I am. So, I think you can definitely be better at some things than other things, but definitely getting out of your comfort zone and realizing that if you want to get to where you want to get to, you doing it, you need to probably do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, and just
otherwise you're the same as everyone else.
Start and just fucking do something other than nothing. Yeah.
I have a lot of appreciation for someone that gives it a crack.
Yeah.
And I think that I actually, some of it's a bit cringe, and I see some videos, I'm like, oh God, that's not good. But at least they're giving it a go. Yeah. And I just, Australia is a little bit tall poppy where
for sure.
Everyone's got an opinion about something, especially those who are doing the least. Yeah. And if someone starts a business and it fails, or someone, starts to start and it goes bankrupt, or someone's actually genuinely putting themselves out there, I personally have more respect for someone that gives it a go than someone who sits behind their cushy job and judges those that are doing.
Yeah, for sure. And like some of the most successful brands we've worked with that we've had the opportunity to be on that growth journey with them is that they've just been so tenacious, and they've just continued to try and re-innovate, and they've just not relied on other people. They've actually gone out and had a crack themselves. And, a lot of people go to an agency and think that I'm just going to hand it over to them and they can do everything. But yeah, it's just being able to get up and treat every day as a new day and try new things. And, if you do fuck up, or if you launch a product doesn't work, then innovate and try again and keep going until you get it right.
I do think though, you can also if you get 10 experts in the room, they'll all tell you something different. They'll all charge you for it. They'll all, like you think SEO, you get someone come in, they want you to rebuild your website, redo this, spend X on that, do this, and then you're in the same position you were 3 months ago and you spend $20,000. And it's just one of those things that definitely get the right people in when you need them, but you don't need 30 experts to launch your business. And I think as you grow, there's certain roles that I know we need to fill in the business, but we're not ready to fill them yet.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of what they need to be. So, if someone comes along that's amazing, I'll probably hire them. But there's definitely points, within the next 12 months or next 6 months, we're not going to hire anyone, or we're going to hire that person in that role. But I just think you can get, and I'm definitely a victim to this, you can get very caught up with wanting everyone or wanting, this person and that person, and you just end up having a team of randoms and 100%. And that, and then everyone's got an opinion and nothing actually ends up getting done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to find the right advice, and you can definitely minimize mistakes, but sometimes you just have to go out there and make them yourself, because that's the best way to learn.
You've made a few.
Still am, mate. Still am making mistakes. Cool. So one thing that I feel people do really well who do succeed is that, and you've just mentioned it, like having good people around you, but not so much that you're getting all these different opinions. Like, for instance, not having 5 business advisors, maybe just having one. And if you've got, people in your own personal life as well as, your fitness life or whatever, a lot of people that I've had on sort of do resonate with the fact that they've got a good network to get them to where they are. One of my business advisors, he calls it a SWAT team. So regarding, I guess, the people you've got around yourself, aside from your social network, and obviously your wife and, friends and family, who do you sort of lean in on a sort of weekly basis to sort of, build, that sort of support network around you?
I think it's important not to take advice from someone that hasn't achieved what you want to achieve. And I think you can listen to people. I'm not saying don't listen to anyone, but everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
And as I said before, normally the people that have done the least have the most to say. And, if you ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. That also happens in the bank. If you go ask 10 different bankers about something, they'll give you 10 different answers. So it's the same thing. When it comes to advice, I think, just find people that have achieved what you want to achieve and just ask them, off the record questions around, I don't have so much as like a business advisor, but I've definitely got a network of high achieving professionals that I will give a call and say, hey, look, you got 5 minutes, can I just run something by you? Because I respect their opinion. But I think it's all, you want to be, it's pretty cliche, but you want to be surrounded by people that are better than you. Yeah. And I just think, if I'm thinking of when I came out of the club scene, a lot of good friends of mine, they probably weren't the right people to bring the best out in me.
Yeah.
And, nothing against them, and a lot of them are still really good friends of mine. But in terms of me getting where I want to get to, you have to broaden your horizons, and you have to get a little bit uncomfortable with asking for help. And the reality is that if you ask the right people respectfully, not many people are going to say no. And even if it's just a 5-minute conversation, or, hey, I'll grab a coffee and walk with you. It doesn't have to be a sit down and mentor you for 3 days and I'll pay you. Like, no one needs that much one-on-one time. Like, it needs to be more, if you've got 10 different things, maybe 10 different people can give you those answers for me. But, if I'm thinking about, process stuff, I went and talked to the 3 or 4 biggest owners of the biggest brokerages and said, look, can I just get 5 minutes of your time to ask you some stuff? Or if I'm thinking about offshore processing, I went and saw the guy who runs Australia's largest offshore processing team. Like, it makes sense because the questions I'm asking is someone who's actually achieved what I'm trying to achieve. Yep. And it's just, if I ask someone who hasn't achieved that, they're going to give me some ridiculous answer, which is not going to actually be an answer that is someone that's experienced the results of what I'm trying to achieve. And I think, if myself, someone asked me about, business and whatnot, it would be a very different conversation now than 6 months ago. Yeah. And I just think that you also have to trust your own gut. Yeah. And, sometimes. A lot of the stuff you need to learn yourself. But, I love, I'm part of a lot of different networking groups and support groups, and, definitely surrounding yourself with high achieving individuals makes you think differently.
Yeah, for sure.
And being, in an environment, on a leadership thing about 2 years ago with 20 high achieving individuals and successful individuals, and just the being around a group of people and the information they were giving me and the feedback and not having any strings attached was a very unique experience. I think it's important because, if you can surround yourself with people, it's like anything, right? If you want to be a good athlete, you obviously, like, if people train up for the Olympics, they go and train with other good athletes because that's how, like, it's common sense. If you want to be the best, you train with the best. Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing for business. If you want to be,
they fight each other and go, let's train together.
But it's common sense. Like, but when it comes to business, people don't think that same way. Like, if you want to be the best at what you go do, then surround yourself with other people that are better than you. Yeah, yeah. You can't not succeed.
Yeah, it's so true. Now, before we wrap up, one last thing on Flint Group before we start getting into, Christian and a few other questions in your personal life. What does the next sort of 1 to 3 years look like? I know you've sort of mentioned that you've got, that goal of going from 50 to 100 people, but, I guess getting into the office and getting to the end of the year, what's the next 3 years look like for Flint Group?
We're about to roll out our broker offer, which has taken us about 12 months to kind of knuckle down. And it's a very, very unique offer in market where you have like a co-ownership and you actually build an asset. Like, you actually build a business within a business, not someone else's business. And I think that's what the industry is missing, especially for those established brokers that want to actually build something. I want to be a part of that journey with them. So for us, it'll be about finding the right brokers to support that. And then we'll probably have some conversations with some other larger brokers about merging, because I think that makes sense. And like just a conversation you were having before about having the agency with all the different people there. You can't be an expert of everything.
JV.
And it makes sense to have, a bigger business which has different key people within it and different key markets, whether it's Perth, Sydney, Adelaide, whatever, Canberra. That makes sense. And I want to get to the number of 10 billion a year in annual settlements, and there'll be people that hear this and laugh at that or say, you're a fucking idiot. There's no way that can happen. I genuinely think it can. You just got to find the right people to be involved with that. Our industry is transitioning to like a digital broker. So I don't think that AI and automation will replace a broker, but it'll definitely enhance them. And I think that it'll weed out a lot of the brokers that are bringing the others down. And I think the industry will get smaller, but the brokers within that industry will get better.
Yeah.
And I think for us, if I fast forward 8 years from now, I would hope that we have a brokerage settling, $10 billion in loans annually. That's the plan. Obviously, very much more complicated than that.
I mean, you're doing $1 billion yourself, right? So
look, I was on track to do $1 billion. Not as high as that, but look, I think this year we'll do well over 1.5 between us.
Yeah, nice.
But the majority of those settlements will happen in the second 6 months of the year, because it's taken us 6 months to kind of get back on track, and we're doing well over 100 million settlements a month now. But I think we're probably at half of our capacity as the team we've got. But again, I genuinely think that there are like a super brokerage. That's where the industry's heading. I think.
Yeah, cool.
The year of the merger, the next couple of years, I think we'll see a lot of that.
Mate, sounds exciting. So with your journey now leading up to, going from number one broker to CEO of Flint Group, what do you feel like you're most proud of over your personal career and your personal journey so far?
Mate, awards don't mean shit. Awards are great for marketing. Let me put it that way. If you charted out like settlement numbers and inquiry, you can see where I got the awards, because there are massive bumps in B2B partners, clients, people reaching out to you. It's fantastic for marketing.
It's a marketing method.
100%. And that's all that I care about. It's literally the only reason why I put up the posts, or it's not about me feeling good and going home and smiling. It's about like how much business can I generate from this? And that's all that I've ever cared about. What am I most proud of? It probably sounds corny. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. So like last month or month before, I think it might have been now, we helped you get this scheme for single parents. So it's like you can get a 2% deposit for single parents, even if they've been married before. So we had this lady that had been in domestic violence situation where she had a 2% deposit saved, and she wanted to buy a house for a kid. It was like a $300,000 loan. Yeah. We helped her through that. It was amazing. Like the amount, she was genuinely in tears about the help that we'd given her. But that same month we settled, I settled a $50 or $48 million loan, right?
Yeah, wow.
But the $48 million loan is a commercial transaction. It's for a developer. He doesn't give a shit. It's building the feasibility is business. Whereas what you can make from an impact perspective of growing people's wealth through property is genuinely what I enjoy. Yeah. And seeing people, we've had people that were first-time buyers and they're buying investment properties now, and then they're upsizing because they've got 2 kids, and seeing people on that journey and be able to help them achieve that is what I genuinely get enjoyment out of these days. And I think, numbers take care of themselves when you are good at what you do and you get enjoyment out of that. Yeah. And, as corny as that might sound, that is genuinely what I get more interest out of.
I saw it when you helped Kirsten, my girlfriend, settle on her first property, and the excitement she got when it all went through was, it was good to see. And, I definitely can see the side effect of what you do. And that's what you're in it for, right?
That's the whole purpose. Like if you're working your ass off and you're saving money, and you want to make sure that decision you're making to buy that property is one that you don't regret. And the reality is we are the person who is responsible for that decision. Like it's the biggest financial decision that most people will ever make. And you are the gatekeeper of that. So it's quite important that you don't ruin that experience, because even if it's their dream property, but they had the shittest experience buying it, it just leaves a sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good. So I guess outside of work, and I always find that industry leaders and hobbies and work-life balance, it goes hand in hand. I think if it's all about work, there's going to be a sense of burnout and it's probably going to be not sustainable over time. But, in terms of what you do for fun and what hobbies you sort of do outside of work, I know, what's it called? Paddle?
I do love my paddle.
Yeah, you paddle. Yeah.
Mate, honestly, being honest,
what's the stuff you do outside of?
The work-life balance has been pretty average lately. I'm working far too much, but I know I'm working too much. Yeah. So it's when you don't realise that it's probably a bad thing.
It's a temporary thing.
Yeah. I know what needs to be done to get to where I need to get to in the next 6 months, and I'm happy to make that commitment time-wise because I need to get there. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But love my paddle. It's probably the only exercise I get on a Friday with the boys.
It's better than nothing.
But I really enjoy it. It's social as well, because outside of work, I'm not doing a lot, really. I spend a lot of time with my wife, who's been my biggest supporter. But apart from that, see my family a lot. My dad started bringing over coffee during COVID each morning. He just lives down the road,
cool.
and that's something that's continued. So every morning that he's in Sydney, which is 2 or 3 mornings a week, he'll stop by at 6:30 on the dot. He's an ex-military man, so it's literally on the dot at 6:30 every morning. But for me, like that kind of stuff is really enjoyable. Like that's literally my favorite time during the week. And then I take my parents coffee and see my mum and dad on Saturday mornings. Like that stuff for me is like, what's the point of working hard if you can't then enjoy the things that are important? Yeah. And I think, I've gone and bought all the expensive, stupid shit, and I realized pretty quick that didn't fill me with anywhere near as much enjoyment as I thought it was going to do. And then, I made the mistake again, and maybe it wasn't the right thing. Maybe I need to go buy something else. But then I realized that the happiest times I have are when, are the things that are free. And again, that sounds super cool, but it is. Like I am happiest when I finish my day, come home, and I see my wife. It's not as, it's because often it's stressful work. And, I had a head of hair like yours before I started broking.
Mine's thinning, don't worry.
Mate, it looks, compared to mine, it's unbelievable. So I think, it's been stressful. But I think if I look forward now in the next 10 years, what I've learned in the last 10 years, it would just, 10x my ability to grow faster moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now, last but not least, if you could wind back the clock and give yourself advice. You've given some other people advice and you seem like you do that every day, but what advice would you give yourself, if you could wind back the clock and meet 18-year-old Christian?
Look, I'm one of those people that believes that everything happens for a reason, and if I give myself advice, then it would have meant that I wouldn't have gone into nightclubs and done all that stupid shit that I did over the years, and then I wouldn't have met the people I've met, and then I wouldn't have met, my now business partners. And I think that like the journey that you go on to get to where you want to get to is, those learnings as well. Advice is, I had a lot of fun and I did a lot of things, and but it definitely made me the person I am today. And I don't regret anything, but it's like advice is one of those things that if anyone had the time again, I'm sure they'd do things differently. But if I had done it again, I wouldn't be in the situation I am now, which is pretty 22. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, mate, appreciate your time. It's been awesome to see your journey over the years, and can't wait to see what the next 3 years look like. Grateful to call you a friend, and I'm sure you're going to achieve everything you put your heart to. So thank you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Cool.